My name's Ryan Murphy. For 28 days, I jumped on Amtrak and traveled around the United States. I saw everything from watery swamps to great plains to majestic rocky mountains to concrete jungles to roaring rivers. Tag along with me as we journey through 29 states in 28 days. What I found was completely different than what I expected. Maybe you could learn a thing or two along the way. Most people couldn't tell you where on a map Little Rock, Arkansas is. To be honest with you, the most I knew about Little Rock before the trip was that's where my second grade teacher, Mrs. Becker, is from. But I have to tell you, there's a ton of history, the people are beyond friendly, and overall, one of the nicest places that I visited on this trip. Let me show you around. The first stop is the river market for a little breakfast, which is full of different types of food from around the world. There, I grab a smoothie and head towards Junction Bridge. It's an over 100-year-old bridge that used to be able to move up and down to allow boats and ferries to pass under it. It has since been turned into a walking bridge and has been fixed in the up position, so you actually have to walk upstairs in the middle in order to make it to the other side of the Arkansas River to North Little Rock. On the other side of the river, we find something a bit odd for not being close to an ocean. A submarine named the Razorback, along with a memorial to the World War II submarine vets. Heading back across Junction Bridge, you get the best view of the city. We make it back to the Arkansas River Trail and stop off at a wildlife museum.
Never wanted any part of that, and I'm proud to say I love this place, good old small town USA. Give me a Saturday night, my baby by my side, David Allen Coe and a six-pack of light, an old dirt road.
We make it farther down the trail to the Bill Clinton Presidential Library.
A little bit of Monica in my life, a little bit of Erica by my side, a little bit of Rita's all I need.
There they had the last Beast, the presidential limo, that is displayable because now the Beast is considered top secret and the Secret Service destroys them after use. They had a replica of the cabinet meeting room and Oval Office. I couldn't resist and I got behind the desk again. The rest of the library goes year by year with the events that took place during the Clinton presidency. The Clinton Presidential Park Bridge has one of the best and most peaceful views of the entire trip. I stayed there for a while just to admire the views before heading back to downtown. Little Rock was settled way back in the 1720s. This museum gives a glimpse of what it looked like back then. There, I met some pretty cool blacksmith, just like back in the day. They actually built the shack they were working out of with the tools and nails they forged. The last stop is Central High School, where the Little Rock Nine desegregated the school in 1957. These brave kids did their job and went to school, but were met by a ton of opposition. They were targeted to the point where they needed armed guards to escort them around. But these armed guards' orders were to make sure they didn't get killed, so they ended up doing the bare minimum and watching these kids get beat on a daily basis. But as long as they didn't die, they were doing their job. It got so bad that the governor, who opposed desegregation, had the entire school system shut down for a year. But in 1959, they reopened and Ernest Green became the first black graduate from Central High School.
We were Terrence Roberts, Jefferson Thomas, Thelma Mothershed, Elizabeth Eckford, Ernest Green, Carlotta Walls, Melba Patillo, Minnie Jean Brown, and Gloria Ray.
It's an awful, awful, awful thing that they had to endure. But with persistence, restraint, and peaceful protest, look at all the progress that's been made. Now it's time to head back to the station and catch the night train to St. Louis.
Got a moon and a billion stars, the sound of steel and old boxcars. The thought of you's driving me insane. Come on, baby, let's go listen to the night train.
One of the questions I've gotten a lot since I've been back was, how was sleeping on the train? Is it uncomfortable? Did you have enough room? Is it super bumpy? Sleeping on the train is actually surprisingly comfortable. On overnight trips, I stayed in the sleeping car in what they call a roomette. I'm 6'3", and it gave me enough room to lie down and stretch out. It's pretty tight in there. The seats fold into beds. There's not much room, but the beds are surprisingly comfy. As far as the bumpiness goes, it's not completely smooth by any means, but it's a lot easier to move around than, say, a plane. For stretches, you would bounce around a little bit, but for the most part, it was actually smoother than I expected, and you get used to the bumpiness.
Always hear about the sunshine coming through a Georgia pine with a blue-eyed baby. Always hear about a dirt road turning up the radio down in South Mississippi. But they never took cover under a red oak. Watch the rain and the wind and your brown hair blow. I kissed you for the first time. If they could have seen it through my eyes, it'd be more songs about Missouri, green-eyed girls and
St. Louis, Missouri, the gateway to the west. Situated along the Mississippi River, St. Louis is a major port town for boats and barges. It's known as the gateway to the west because this is where the settlers would start their wagon trains from. Busch Stadium, the home of the St. Louis Cardinals. I head across the street to the Cardinals Museum, where I get to see World Series trophies, old uniforms, and all the Cardinal legends.
ain't nothing look better than you standing in that white moon water, kicking your flip-flops, painting the drip drops on a postcard summer. If they could see you wrapped up in my
The best part was at one of the exhibits you got to hold a game-used bat. They had 6 of them: Stan Musial, Ozzie Smith, Yadier Molina, Dexter Fowler, and 2 others. He asked me, which one do you want to hold? I said, is that even a question? And he hands me Stan Musial's bat. Something I didn't know was that their name came from the red color of the uniforms from the then St. Louis Perfectos. They ended up adding the bird as their mascot, and the rest is history. I also got to see the broadcasting booth, and I got to go on the field and into the dugout. Baseball holds a very special place in my heart. I played it all the way from 3 years old all the way through high school until my arm gave out on me. It taught me how to make myself better. It taught me how to handle difficult, high-pressure situations. It taught me how to focus on the task at hand. Because if you dwell on the missed call 2 pitches ago, you're going to end up making a bad pitch and making the situation go from bad to worse. Baseball taught me how to win, but it also taught me how to lose, and that I absolutely hated it. Last stop is St. Louis's iconic arch. It's a spectacular sight. At 630 feet, it's the world's tallest arch. You can actually go inside of it. It's pretty interesting because of its curve. An elevator only wouldn't work. It uses 3 different mechanisms to get you to the top. First, you're enclosed in this small ball-looking orb thing with 4 other people. If you're claustrophobic, I don't recommend going because it's pretty tight. Then you start going up in this ball-looking thing on an escalator. Then it changes into an elevator, And then once you get to the top, it uses a Ferris wheel type of deal to where it gets you over. Once at the top, you can look out the little slats. You can see the Mississippi on one side and the entire city on the other. It's really breathtaking. Now it's time to head to Chicago.
Well, if you ask me where I come from, here's what I tell everyone. I was born by God's dear grace in an extraordinary place where the stars and stripes and the eagle fly. It's a big old land with countless dreams, and happiness ain't out of reach. Hard work pays off the way it should. Yeah, I've seen enough to know that we've got it good, where the stars and stripes and the eagle fly. There's a lady that stands in a harbor for what we believe, and there's a bell that still echoes the price that it costs to be free. I pledge allegiance to this flag, and if that bothers you, well, that's too bad. But if you got pride and you're proud you do, hey, we could use some more like me and you, where the stars and stripes and the eagle fly.